Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the Strimzi Community Meeting on March 20th on 2025. So before starting with the usual agenda, there is anything that someone would like to raise, would like to talk about, anything, yeah, that you need to discuss right now? Seems not. So there are no highlighted PRs and issues, as you can see here. I see some proposals. I'm pretty sure that one was by me. Let's see also the other. So I'm going to open the first one. Yeah, this one was opened by Kate almost, I guess, 2 weeks ago. We already have 2 binding votes and 2 non-binding votes. Of course, I would like to have other maintainers to take a look in order to reach a higher number of binding votes, or anyway providing comments or feedback if you don't agree, so that we can approve if possible and merge this PR. So yeah, if other maintainers can go, I already saw that Jakub, you assigned yourself to review. Thank you.
Yeah, I will try to take a look on it as soon as possible.
Yeah. Okay. I guess no questions on this one. Let's move with the next one. Yeah, that's the bigger one on the stretch cluster. So on my side, I spent some time right after the last community meeting to make some comments. Unfortunately, after that, I was too busy to get back to it. So to see, I'm pretty sure that the people working on this PR replied to me. They gave me updates, but I had no time to come back to them. So I'm really sorry for that. Yeah, anyway, if there is any specific things that we won't discuss, or I don't know, the other maintainers at the time to review, let me know.
So I did have a chance to have a look at this, and one of the main questions I had was around what we want to do for next steps. Because I think the way the proposal is written at the moment, it talks a lot about the prototype, and it's not 100% clear what is just describing how the prototype works versus what's kind of the proposed next steps. So I think I did ask this question on the proposal, but I didn't see an answer. I don't know if we've got the authors on. I think we might do.
Yes. I can speak for Ashwin. He was supposed to be here as well, but
Ashwin is here.
Thank you so much for everybody to review and provide their valuable inputs. I know it's a big thing, and it's very difficult to understand how do we exactly slice this so that we've got meaningful chunks that we can take forward. Based on the feedback that we've had so far, we pushed another update today with the view of articulating the exact steps that the user would need to do and the exact names of the environment variables we are proposing we change. Because up till now we've been, if I can say, a little bit loose, because we were hoping that we will do that discussion in the community in a different way, because we don't know exactly how. This is the first proposal from us, so trying to figure out what the best way is. But I think what we've tried to do with the update today is we've put a stake in the ground to say this is what we think we should do, or this is what we are proposing. And hopefully that basically distills down to a lot smaller proposal as well, because previously we were talking a lot about how the prototype works, how other technologies might work with this. And while all of those are important considerations, they don't need to be in the proposal per se. So we've tried to distill it down. I'm not saying this is perfect. By all means, we would still want valuable feedback that you guys can give, but I think it's at a place where specifically there's a section where it said step 1, the user should do this and define these environment variables in these clusters. Step 2, you do this. Step 3, you do that. So I'm hoping that should make it a lot clearer. And we've taken some of the other feedback from all of you as well. I know there was some confusion about the network ID and the cluster ID. So we've tried to refine those to say, well, they are same. So let's not kind of mess around with two different things. Let's call it one thing and do it that way. I don't know if Mark or Ashwin want to add anything more, but we really would like to get to a point where these are the three things that the community is not happy about. If there are any specific things, I know we hadn't called out as clearly up till now the changes, some of those that we were kind of proposing or suggesting. So we've tried to be more assertive about what we are proposing here, and I'm hoping that will reflect. But yeah, if the proposal, like whenever you guys review it, it would be good to know if there's a specific set of things that we want to be refined in the same proposal, or do we want to follow an approach of at a high level, this approach is fine, but there will be follow-on proposals with further details on specific things, then we can do that way as well. Although I didn't get like massive, or maybe I'm biased here, but I didn't see massive objections to most of the things, which was positive from my point of view. But yeah, I mean, thank you for the feedback. We are keen to get this moving forward and have like the next set of steps. So if anybody could highlight saying everything is fine, but this aspect I'm very concerned about, or we need to do something else, then we can start carving out. Also from implementation side of things, obviously, while the design is supporting any CNCF network technology that we've suggested, there are a couple we've tried with, but obviously we would start implementing with one. So I want to start drawing some boxes around what is in scope and what is desirable. So things like, what about Kafka Connect? I mean, we are not talking about stretching Kafka Connect by this. So this is just stretching the Kafka. So there are things like that which we can easily go into, but they are kind of much further down in terms of delivery and progress. So um, yeah, I mean, that was kind of my update. So thanking you for all the reviews, and I'm hoping that the newer changes have addressed pretty much all the comments. The only one I'm aware of is we need to kind of understand a bit more about the system tests and how we would integrate testing such a thing. So that's an action we've got. And maybe some more performance test with Cilium to see whether we can choose which is the first implementation we want to go, Cilium or Submarine or that kind of thing. So those were the two significant actions that I think I have taken from this. But Ashwin, I know this is your proposal. Sorry, I jumped in because I didn't see your face on the camera.
That's fine. Yeah, as you mentioned, we have been addressing most of the review comments as they come in, but there are still aspects like system tests that need to be handled. However, we have focused on making the design as cleaner as possible, and Mark just pushed the commit a few minutes back. Yeah, I would request all the maintainers, if you have time, to take a look and let us know what your thoughts are, and we will be revising the proposals according to that. And also, we'll be trying to do more performance testing. Right now, we have performed some benchmark testing using open messaging benchmark, and I think Federico has already seen this, and he has mentioned it in one of his comments that we need to try this in more realistic environments, and we have plans and issues for that in our internal reports to just try that out, and we'll be doing it as soon as possible, and we'll hope to have some positive results from that as well.
Can I ask a naive question in terms of what I'm making an assumption? Okay, you all spend some more time looking at this in the coming week, and you're happy with generally what we have. Maybe there are some suggestions on the name of the annotation, because it's like those kind of things we are kind of subject to personal views and how we've done in the past and things like that. How does it go from here on? What is the typical path that proposals in Strimzi community take?
So usually on a proposal, you can have several iterations, right? So I mean, you are applying some changes because you have got some new ideas, or you're some new stuff on your own, or because you are getting some feedback. So we start to discuss about this feedback and then getting to an approval or yeah, kind of a good number of people approving the right way to go. To be honest, because of the big thing that this proposal is taking, right? Like other stuff, for example, in the past. So it's we should not expect to be really fast to reach an agreement and to reach the green check from you know, the majority of the people reviewing the PR. So expect, at least this is my view, then I will leave the other maintainers to provide their opinion. From my view, we are going through an iteration, so some iterations, and I cannot say it will take 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months.
No,
yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting a clear timeline from you because nobody
No,
can.
yeah, it's just a discussion. So we are
Yeah.
discussing, we are providing feedback. You are kind of doing your reasoning, so we can take our feedback back, or we can make some change here and there by discussing. When that's approved, yeah, then it starts on your side. It depends if you already have a POC, which is adhering to the proposal, or you will take your time in order to write the PR. And then, of course, we will start the process of reviewing the PR, and it will be a different story at that point.
Is there a minimum number of maintainers who need to approve a PR before it's considered?
The proposal, yes, it has to be 3 binding vote is the minimum from the maintainers. Of course, we would like also to have other people from the contributors to have their voice here with non-binding, of course. But yes, there is the minimum of the maintainer to get the proposal approved. And the last thing, and then I will leave, I will pass to the others, regarding what you were saying about providing more specific steps that the user has to do. Yeah, that's a good point. It would be great to have something like that. Even when the user does something, what the operator is doing on the other side, right? To make it clear what's going to happen underneath. And also, when you mentioned that, of course, you can have different network technologies within CNCF working with this, of course, if we can get this to be as much pluggable as possible is great. But for me, it's clear that you have to start with some technology. So picking one, because for example, even Kate was working on the certificate management, and she started from taking Cert Manager, right, as the kind of first supported technology, or basing the implementation on that. So no worries about from this point of view. Of course, we can discuss maybe on the proposal what's the best one to start with, right?
Yeah.
If Cilium or Submariner and so on.
Yeah, from our point of view, I think any technology that matches the requirements we've laid out in the proposal is around or deployed. It should work. But obviously, there are so many of those we've not tested with everything, and we probably can't claim everything in one shot. So I think being conservative on that side would be useful, and choose one and then incrementally add more as we go on. So I think that was kind of our intent. And yes, we have laid out the steps as well. So hopefully it starts becoming clearer to the users, and we've taken everything about the prototype out. And I know there's a linked documentation separate to the proposal, which has details on the prototype. So we've tried to make a segregation between what the prototype is and how it works today versus what we are proposing, because obviously the proposal is further ahead than the prototype now because of valuable feedback that we've got. So we will keep updating the prototype and make sure that it doesn't kind of stay too far behind, and it's harder for us to kind of catch up. But yeah, I think anything that others have in mind as the next logical step, I don't know, Kate, if you had anything in mind when you kind of brought this up, or other maintainers or people who've seen it, I think we would be very keen to know, because we are keen to move this forward. I know we've been working on this for a while, so trying to move this along.
Yeah, I think certainly from what you've described of the update that you've made today, it sounds like that will hopefully address some of the questions I had around kind of next steps. Yeah, as Paolo said, unfortunately, because it is a very big feature, it will take time for it to get approved. The cert manager proposal took me years to get in. I'm hoping it won't take as long for this one. But the idea behind the proposal process is, rather than you creating your prototype and then trying to create the pull request and then the community saying, actually, we think you've gone in completely the wrong direction here, the hope is that for the most part, it will be easier for us to then get the pull request for the actual feature implementation in, because a lot of the kind of how should this work has been worked out in the proposal. So hopefully in the long term, this results in less time. But I appreciate that it is quite a lengthy process to get these proposals approved, because it is just such a big feature and there's so many kind of aspects to consider. So yeah, it sounds like you're going in the right direction to me. Yeah, feel free to kind of keep putting this on the community call to encourage more reviews. Obviously, everyone's short of time, so yeah, it can take a little bit of time for people to get to things, but yeah, we will try our best to kind of keep coming back and pushing this along to see where we can get to. And then I think in terms of for you, what you can be doing in the meantime, obviously updating your prototype means that then once the proposal is hopefully approved, you'll be able to quite quickly raise a pull request. But I think also just taking a look at the changes that you're going to be making in your prototype and considering, are there ways that you want to break that down? Is that going to be something that's easy to review? Because I think if you've got a pull request that's making a large number of changes, then again, that's going to take a long time for people to review it. So I know you can have a look at some of the other proposals we've done in the past. When we introduced, I think it was the readiness and liveness for craft mode, we kind of did that in like a staged approach. And that was to do with other like reasons. But yeah, I think having a look on your end at the prototype, like what are the changes that are coming, and are there ways you could break that down to make that review process quicker, would also then mean overall the time to get it implemented will be shortened. So I think that's something you could be doing also in the background while you're kind of waiting for people to have a look at your proposal.
Thanks, Kate. Thank you.
No, yeah, that was a really good point about breaking down the PR. If you are able to identify pieces that you can break down this in several PRs, you know, PRs where, for example, if stretch cluster is not used, of course, the first PR is not having a bad impact on the operator, so that we can incorporate the first PR and then moving along with the others. But breaking in several PRs will help really, of course, when and in case you can do that. It will help to move faster during the review, because you know, reviewing a really big PR is really difficult for all the maintainers and contributors anyway in general. So yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I have one additional point regarding the system tests. At this moment, I think it would be quite complicated to test feature like that. Lukáš is also working on refactoring a lot of stuff, which should make writing a new system test a little bit more easier for new contributors. So I think we will take a look on the proposal, and then we will probably we should be able to provide some kind of guidance what should be done on system test level to make it possible to test it. Also, I think it will be possible to run this kind of test on Azure, so we will need to find some another way how we will be able to run the test, let's say, on some regular basis. This might need to create a pipeline on GitHub Actions that offers a bigger VMs than we have on Azure. But yeah, it will take some time, I guess. And the first step that we should do is definitely on our side to review the proposal and to see what could be done, not just from you, but also from us, because it will need a lot of changes, I think. So it was just an, let's say, brainstorming around it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I'm not very familiar with the system tests and how the pipelines work, so I think that's a good opportunity for us to understand and figure out, and then kind of propose how we slot this capability into the larger test suite that Strimzi have got.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, thank you very much. I will really find the time now, next week, in order to take a look. Well, I will travel, but I have a lot of hours to spend in airports. So this will be my first priority, to take a look, at least for spending and waiting for connection in the airport. I will have something to do. So, okay, and thank you very much for the effort, because yeah, that's a really interesting and important feature to us. So.
Thank you.
The next one for the proposals will be, this is you, Kate. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did this one. So this came about from a question from a user. So this is related to the Cert Manager integration. So my main ask is anyone, maintainers or contributors, like please have a look and see what you think, weigh in, especially any users who are interested in using Cert Manager or are currently using custom certificates and things like that. Just for context, so people are aware, basically, today, if you allow Strimzi to manage the CA for you, what happens is when the CA needs renewing, at that point, Strimzi will also renew all of the end entity certificates. And we provide an option which is maintenance time windows, so that users can say, I only want the certificates to be renewed, on a Tuesday and a Thursday between 2 and 4 p.m. or something. And it's basically because we then have to roll all of the Kafka pods, so it kind of reduces when that impact's going to happen. So the question that the person specifically raised is they were using Cert Manager themselves and wanted to make use of the maintenance time windows. But today, if you're providing your own CA, we don't respect the time windows, because we say, well, you're managing the CA, so you should be able to make sure you only update the CA during your own time window. But for Cert Manager, because the current proposal that was accepted has Cert Manager renewing the certificates, we currently don't have any control over when that happens. And so this proposal is kind of an update to say, should we take into account the maintenance time windows and basically only take the new certificates from Cert Manager if we're within a maintenance time window? So far, obviously, we've had 2 people review, you can see there. And Jakob's raised a question around, should maintenance time windows be applied in this case? And I'm also doing some investigation around whether this is something that could be handled in Cert Manager directly. There isn't an existing feature, but I'm chatting to some people to see if it's something they would add or kind of how it could be handled. But I would really appreciate, some more points of view on this. So just a call out for anyone to have a look if you're interested.
Yep, thanks, Kate. Okay, there is anything else on the proposals? If not, I guess we can go straight to the issue triage. There are not that many issues today. So this one was about, Jakub raising that in several parts of the code, there are different ways in order to use selectors using the map labels or the label selector. I guess that David went through this. I don't know if we have David on the call. Let me see on the list. Nope, I don't think we have David. Anyway, as far as I can see, it seems that, chatting with Jakub, David ended with the outcome that even within Fabricate, it seems that stuff is not uniform across using the map or the label selector. So at this point, I think that even Jakub was kind of proposing that maybe this doesn't make any sense and we can just close it if this kind of unify is not possible at all.
Yeah, I think as long as it's not possible to do it on Fabricate level, it doesn't make sense to do any kind of workarounds or on our side, because anyway, we will at some point hit that we will need to use map instead of label selector, I think. So I am for yeah, closing it, and maybe we can reopen it in the future if the possibilities will change.
Yeah, I'm for that as well.
Yeah, I'm happy with it closed.
Okay, so the next one is, at least it was raised as a bug. It seems that there are errors on the Kafka pod not coming up when let me see. Okay, so it seems that it's just not coming up the pod.
Yeah,
for
also
any
it
unknown
seems
reason.
that Maros and Lukáš already requested some more information, some logs or something, and the user didn't respond back.
Okay, so at this point, it's 2 weeks. I don't know, I always feel that if a user doesn't come back in 2 weeks, maybe, I don't know, they are not interested anymore in this, they fixed this, but they didn't come back to us. My feeling is always that after this time, we can close it and the user can reopen it if they are interested to provide more insights and to have some help.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. The next one, I guess that is the one that you were referring to in your proposal, right, Kate?
Yeah, so I raised an issue and then just went ahead and wrote up the proposal just because I guess we could discuss it there. So oh yeah, sorry, the issue is actually a bug, I forgot, raised by the user. So this was the bug that I was referring to that somebody raised, saying that they wanted to be able to see the maintenance time windows respected when they were managing the CA. So in this case, they're using Cert Manager, but from a Strimzi point of view, they're providing a custom CA. And the current setup we have is if Strimzi is managing the CA, we have time maintenance windows. But if the user is managing the CA, no matter who, whether it's Cert Manager or some other system that's actually creating those secrets, we don't respect maintenance time windows. The user has to do it at the right time. And the reason I then raised the proposal is because this particular user, although the feature the bug they're reporting is a kind of, it's working as expected, if they switch to using the Cert Manager integration that we're planning to add, I think they would run into the same problem, which is that as soon as Cert Manager does an update, it would then roll the Kafka pods. Whereas we could, in that case, say, well, Strimzi via Cert Manager is managing the certificate, so we can decide when to do the rolling update. And that's kind of the key point that Jakob and I have been debating on the proposal is that the right behavior for Strimzi to take or not? Or should it still be up to the user to handle that themselves?
Yeah, so I think that here we have maybe kind of two separate issues. I mean, if we take Cert Manager out,
yeah,
you know, just to try to understand if you want to address it and if addressing it independently of a Cert Manager, right? So we are in a situation where the user is providing the certificate and the operator is not validating the maintenance window if the user is providing the certificate. So here we are saying should be the user to avoid providing the certificate at the wrong time instead of being the operator to give you a kind of protection. So even if you provide the certificate, you still have another protection from the operator to be within the maintainer windows to roll the pods and renewing the identity certificates. From my point of view, to be honest, I don't see anything hurting or of having this supported by the operator. I mean, if the user, I don't know, even make a mistake and roll new certificate, having a maintenance window that can help you to protect the cluster, why should be a bad thing instead of relying only on the users?
So I know that Jakob isn't here. I think you're right that this is two separate issues, and Jakob's called me out for conflating the two, which is fair. On the bottom of the issue, I should have raised a separate issue for the proposal. However, what Jakob said on the proposal, which I think stands here, is he was basically saying that the maintenance time window, his view is it's currently used only for situations when Strimzi decides to do something on its own. It's not used for inputs from the outside. So the sort of the other situation that he referred to that's similar is what happens if somebody changes the configuration in their Kafka CR. That's an external input, and we're not currently respecting time maintenance windows for that. We just apply the change. So from his point of view, he's saying that actually this is an input from the outside. The user has decided to change the contents of the secret for the CA, and that's not something that comes under us respecting time maintenance windows. So if Jakob was here, and hopefully I'm representing his point of view correctly, but based on what he said on the proposal, I think is what he would say. I take a slightly different view in that I kind of agree with you. I think to me, I think we're only currently applying a time maintenance window under a certain circumstance. So I think it's up to us. I don't think we've explicitly stated that anywhere. So I think it's up to us to decide. I do think, though, he has a point, which is how far do we want the maintenance time windows to go? So we could say maintenance time windows only apply for certificates, and then that kind of keeps it well defined. But if we say, yeah, maintenance time windows can apply to the user just changing stuff, then I think the question would then come, well, could we have that for when we change the Kafka CR or any other like change that the user makes that's an external input?
Yeah, I can see Jakub's point, of course. When I implemented this feature, because I guess it was you're having the maintenance time window here, the meaning at the beginning was just for certificates. So it was just that this thing applies to certificates without this distinction about, it's something that the operator is taking care of. There's an input from outside. So for me, it looks like a kind of bug. At least if I see the maintenance time window as something to be applied to the certificates, and it could be worth having the support even when the certificates are coming from the outside by the users. So yeah, at least this is my point. If we want to take more time, we can leave this as the need triage and think more, leaving the time even to the other maintainers so that I can even go back to the proposal and read your proposal as well.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. The one thing I would add, I think, just to think about when you're reviewing this bug is because today we directly mount the cluster CA cert secret, as soon as the user updates that, if for some other reason anything gets rolled, they will immediately pick up that cert. So we can prevent Strimzi from issuing new certificates with that CA, but we can't prevent Strimzi from like seeing the new key or the new public cert, because it's being directly mounted. Whereas in the cert manager land, we're copying it over, so we have a bit more control over when it gets copied over. But specifically for the user managing the CA, with the current setup, I don't think it would be that straightforward to respect the maintenance time windows. So I think we should keep that in mind when we're deciding what to do with this bug.
Yeah, you're right, because you are saying if they change the secret, you have the maintenance window active, it will prevent roll. But if at the same time you apply some configuration change, it will be anyway rolling the pods, and because the secret is updated and mounted, it will take the certificates even if it's out of the maintenance window.
Yes, and the operator doesn't mount the secret. The operator reads the secret every single time.
Yes, yeah.
So the operator will see it regardless anyway, even if it doesn't issue its own certificate.
Okay, for me, let's leave this for the next call so that we can think more. Okay, thank you, Kate. This one around the Mirror Maker 2. Seems to be some issue about some topic to be empty. I saw that there was discussion with, even with Mikel. Do we have Mikel on the call? Yes. So Mikel, I guess that you are already engaged with the user, right? So you are waiting for their input in order to continue on this.
Yeah, I see my last comment. It's asking a question like this topic is empty, and from the logs, that seems the correct thing because the checkpoint connector did not find any groups, so did not limit in checkpoints.
Okay, so let's leave this open because it was just last week. So maybe the user will come at some point. Let me just tag him. Yeah, I will leave this open for. Well, I'm not sure we need triage again, to be honest. It's just, you know, the well, let's leave, because if the user will not come again in 2 weeks, we would expect just to close and then reopen if they will come back. Then ST. This is around the topic operator.
Yeah, I think Lukasz basically mentioned the solution already in the comment. We just need to implement some kind of retry mechanism in such cases, because it's not a bug of the operator itself, but it's just a, let's say, bug in system test when we are trying to change something in customer service that has been modified before, let's say, by operator. The operation will basically fail, and it's completely understandable. And from the system test, we should retry it, because the failure was kind of expected. So yeah, we just need to implement the retry mechanism, I would say.
Yeah, if you look at the topic operators integration test, there is some comment about this 409 error, and we have a workaround, which basically is what you are describing here. So this may also help to sort this out in the performance test.
Okay, so this is something that we are going to address. Is there anyone that I should tag or?
I don't think so. I think Maros will pick it up just when he will get back from his
Okay.
PTO.
So I will leave this open and removing the needs triage. At this point, I will remove also the bug stuff, because it's not a bug per se.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jakub. The last one is from Kate again. We are suggesting some improvements on the Kafka Connect documentation, right?
Yeah, so if you open the link deploying Kafka Connect to your Kubernetes cluster, so basically there was somebody who was trying to get started with Connect, and they had a bunch of questions and weren't quite sure how to do authentication. And I've created a issue which I think if we did these changes would help. So specifically what this is around is we have this example here, which you just scroll past, where it says, this is how you deploy Kafka Connect, and it's got the steps. But for anyone deploying Kafka Connect, they would need a Kafka cluster to start off with. And obviously you could deploy the Strimzi Kafka cluster, but it might be you have your own Kafka cluster you're trying to connect to. And we don't provide any details here about how to understand how to run Connect against like a generic Kafka cluster. And we do have the information in the docs, but it is quite hard to find. You have to kind of drill down, and you have to understand that to configure the security, you need to configure an authentication section, and then you need to configure a TLS section. And so I think it would be useful if directly here we made it clearer to say, if you have an existing Kafka cluster that is using like, you know, the default Strimzi deployment, then this will just work as is. But if you've got your own Kafka cluster, here are the kind of 2 or 3 things you need to review in order to get it working. So I think we could just tweak this documentation ever so slightly. I've listed the changes I'm suggesting in the issue. But I think just being a bit clearer might help people who are just getting started and perhaps want to run Kafka Connect but have never tried running Kafka with Strimzi. Because I think if you've already run a Strimzi Kafka, you might already be a bit more familiar with authentication section and things like that. But if you've never run it before and you just have settings that you normally set, like, you know, the security protocol and SASL mechanism, it's not clear how those map across to the Strimzi options.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Do we have Paul on the call? Paul?
We do, yes. So if you want to assign that to me and I can take a look at it. Would there be any other components that we'd need to do something similar, Kate?
That's a good question. I guess we might want to review the mirror maker sections at the same time and see if there's similar changes we want to make there. I think those are the main components that people might run without having their own Kafka cluster.
Also the bridge.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I've never looked at the bridge documentation to know. But I guess the bridge documentation is a lot more extensive. So it's possible we already cover it, but maybe have a quick check.
Yeah, if we can make a note of that then, Paolo.
Yeah, okay. So does it sound okay?
Yep.
So I will assign to you, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Yeah, feel free to drop me a message or tag me on any reviews or anything.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So I guess we are, yes, at the end of the issue triage. We have just the two ones that we left here. One more thing that I added here was, yeah, the kind of a planning for having a Strimzi 045.1. As you know, 045.1 is Strimzi, the latest release having the support for the craft migration. So we consider this kind of release as a sort of, you know, LTS kind of with best effort, where we are trying to cherry picking things for CVEs and so on, or bugs, while all the other new stuff is just happening on the main branch for 046. So in the last week, we discovered a bug around the craft migration, which is related to you do a migration, you half in the migration, when you reach the stable state of the dual write, you decided to roll back, and so coming back to Zookeeper. And then in this phase, you start creating and using some topics, and then you decided to start again the migration. After the rollback, there is one missing step about deleting one of the Z node in Zookeeper, yeah, which will lead you to some kind of metadata loss. So there is a workaround. You have to delete the topic, the migration Z node from Zookeeper by hand, but now we have a fix. So this is the main reason why I kind of accelerate the process of having a 045.1 yeah, patch release for Strimzi. So I have the PR open. We are kind of tweaking the documentation part. It seems to work. So if the other, yeah, agrees, if you have in mind any other thing that we should cherry pick to 046, please take a look. I went through the stuff that was added since the last release, so the 045.0 release up today. I cherry picked what I thought was needed, some bumps like the vertex, the netty, the fabricate, so everything that was bringing other bug fixes and CVs. But yeah, if you can have a look and think that there is something more that we should cherry pick, please ping me, and yeah, we can discuss. Otherwise, at some point, I will start the process of releasing 045.1. Okay, if there are no comments on this, any other business? Nope. Just on my side, yeah, just saying that the StrimziCon 2025 call for paper is now closed, right? And we are, so the program committee, together with the organizer, so me and Kate, are in the process of reviewing the proposals. So we should have the agenda in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, stay tuned. StrimziCon will be on June the 4th. Yep. Okay, if no more question or any other business, we can wrap up here. Thank you very much for joining, and see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks very much. Bye all.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.